The European Parliament recently passed a resolution on Manipur. Several MEPs presented their opinions in the Parliament and many of them portrayed it as a Christian human rights issue in India. The pamphlet, in an investigative report, exposed these MEPs who spoke in the Parliament. You can check our thread on Pamphlet's Twitter account. If you haven't read till now, kindly do, and if you did, then keep watching this video because you would understand how deep the anti-India nexus goes. Hello and welcome to the Pamphlet. In our Twitter thread, we had specifically mentioned how MEP Pierre Larrouturou talks about NGOs in India. He says the number of NGOs that are authorized to operate in India has been cut by 3 in just a few years. They are trying to suffocate the NGOs. They are trying to suffocate democracy in civil society. In one of his tweets from 2022, you can see how Pierre is holding a placard which reads Free Teesta Setalwad and Zubair. Interestingly, in 2016, NGO named Sovereign India's FCRA license was cancelled by the Indian government. Guess who operated the NGO? Teesta Setalwad and her husband Javed Anand. Even her other NGO, Citizens for Justice and Peace, was put on the prior permission list, which means that the NGO has to take prior permission from the Indian Home Ministry before accepting or utilizing foreign funds. Teesta is also accused of embezzling 2022 riot victim money. Is this what Pierre stands for? Whatever happened to respecting the law of the land? Now let's talk about another MEP who spoke in the European Parliament debate. MEP Elvina Lametsa mentioned degrading human rights and press freedom in India. However, there is a reason for us to mention Elvina in this video as we look at a detail which was not included in the investigative thread. In a 2021 opinion piece, Elvina had written that India's recently amended Foreign Contribution Regulation Act is expected to become another nail in the coffin of advocacy-based human rights organizations in the country. She further mentions how Amnesty International had to close its operations in India over alleged violations of the Act. Elvina herself has been linked with an NGO named Foundation The London Story, which has links with Jamaat and ISI and is associated with anti-India individuals such as Sunita Vishwanath and Rashid Ahmed. Why do European Parliament members want NGOs to be able to properly function in India, especially when certain NGOs are involved in anti-India activities? So what is this FCRA and why NGOs are distressed due to it? It is an act of the Parliament of India which was enacted in 1970s amid apprehension that foreign powers were interfering in India's affairs by pumping in funds through independent organizations. These concerns had been expressed in Parliament as early as 1969. An amended FCRA was enacted under the UPA government in 2010. The law was amended again by the current government in 2020, giving the government tighter control and scrutiny over the receipt and utilization of foreign funds by NGOs. Broadly, the FCRA requires every person or NGO wishing to receive foreign donations to be registered under the Act, open a bank account for the receipt of foreign funds in State Bank of India Delhi branches and to utilize those funds only for the purposes for which they have been received. And as the Act has stipulated, the government reserves the right to cancel FCRA registration of any NGO if it finds it to be violating the Act. Several human rights organizations claim that under the pretext of FCRA registration, the Modi government is suppressing dissenting voices. However, discussions and decisions to curb foreign funding which impacts our international matters in India have been undergoing years before 2014. So these arguments stand null and void. It is also important to understand the issue of foreign funding to NGOs and how it is so harmful to India. A 2014 Intelligence Bureau report titled Impact of NGOs on Development claims that NGOs and their international donors are hampering India's development. The 21-page report names 7 agitations as pursuing anti-developmental activities. These are nuclear infrastructure such as against Kudankulam nuclear power project, coal-fired power plants, genetically modified organisms, POSCO and Vedanta industrial projects in Odisha, Narmada Bachao Andolan, and agitations against extractive industries in the northeast. The report states that the negative effects of such anti-developmental activities on GDP growth are estimated to be at 2 to 3%. Let me quote a snippet of this report. Identified foreign donors cleverly disguise their donations as funding for protection of human rights. Just a deal for project affected displaced persons, protection of livelihood of indigenous people, protecting religious freedom, etc. These foreign donors lead local NGOs to provide field reports which are used to build a record against India and serve as tools for the strategic foreign policy interests of Western governments. The IB report mentions NGOs such as Greenpeace International, ActionAid and Amnesty International which have been funding such anti-India projects. Interestingly, in 2015, FCRA license of Greenpeace International was cancelled in India, while Amnesty International was forced to close its operations in India due to FCRA violations. Recently, FCRA license of several NGOs such as Center for Policy Research and Center of Equity Studies have been revoked. Earlier this year, CBI had filed FIR against Oxfam India for FCRA violations. In 2017, a report raised eyebrows which revealed that Christian NGOs had topped in foreign funding for the year 2015 to 16. Moreover, in recent years, we have seen a lot of accusations on social media of increased missionary activities in various parts of the country, which has led to action against several Christian NGOs. For example, the FCRA license of 13 NGOs were suspended over forced religious conversion of tribals to Christianity in 2020. Last year, the MHA had also cancelled the FCRA licenses of 4 Christian NGOs for diverting funds and violating regulations. According to FCRA rules, religious NGOs can receive foreign funding and are allowed to propagate any religion they want, but cannot use those funds for facilitating conversions, which is illegal. Now, it is not unknown how church have been voicing out on the Manipur issue. And the recent Manipur debate in European Parliament and its labeling the whole issue as anti-Christian is also concerning. Now the big question remains why members of the European Parliament are voicing concerns about NGOs and their FCRA license. Now it is no secret that the majority of these NGOs receive funding from US, UK, Europe or Netherlands. So maybe European leaders are rattled, for now they cannot influence the internal matters of India. Thank you. If you like this video, kindly subscribe our channel and do not forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram.